welcome to this week's episode of G.I. Joe Painting with Daddy Louie. We need to come up with a better name. That's really what I was saying. Today, we are painting Scarlett from the Roleplaying Game. So that's this box here, the G.I. Joe Roleplaying Game miniatures. And we are going to paint Scarlett from that box. So let's go down to the table here, now that you can actually hear me, and take a look at what we're painting. So here she is in all of her miniature glory, her tiny, tiny self. Again, when comparing it to a full-size miniature, I don't have... Oh, yeah, here we go. Here's a... Look how big Sphinx is compared to Scarlett. It's like the size of his head. I feel the intro was so good that if I had actually heard it, our heads would have exploded. Yep, that's why I had you muted, because I was trying to save you from exploding. Today, I have actually remembered my brace and my lidocaine patch on my hand, so that's good. And we're going to get started with painting Scarlett. Now, she has been pre-primed. I've pre-primed her with my favorite primer, which is Citadel Games Workshop's Wraithbone Spray. And we have our wet palette, our clean wet palette, ready to go. And speaking of wet palettes, I've literally, right before I went on stream, I made a tip video. I do Tuesday tip videos over on my social medias, and I did one about how to make your own wet palette. So if you don't have a fancy one like me, or you don't want to buy a fancy one like I've got here, you can actually make your own with household items. So if you're interested, go and check that out on my socials at It's So Tiny. And yeah, sorry, I'm getting myself situated here. I'm going to grab some paint and we're going to get started. First thing I'm going to paint on her is the yellow. So I'm going with a more classic look, even though she has a little more tactical gear on her than her older, look, I guess. I'm going with the classic, 80s cartoon look with the yellow and the blue. So we're going to start with the yellow. So for that, I'm going to use Averland Sunset. And I'm going to mix a tiny bit of purple in with that because painting with yellow can be extremely difficult. And we saw it during our RPG session, and one of the guys misread it. Oh, I was going to say, did I misspell it? Because that's totally something I would do too. So I use a very dark purple. So here's the Averland Sunset. This is what we're going to use as a base for our yellow. And then I'm going to use this Nagroth Night. And like I said, I'm just going to use a little bit. You'll see here on my wet palette how I'm going to do it. First, let's shake them up. Shake it up. Shake it up. Whoa. Wow, this didn't shake at all. I gotta use the paint stirrer. I might be time for me to get a new bottle of... Nope, I'm good. That makes a difference. Alright, so I'm going to put some of this on my palette here. Try and be a little conservative with it. And then we're going to take our Nagroth Night. And we just need... You can see here how much I'm putting in. And it's going to darken the yellow, right? There's no... Obviously, purple is dark and yellow is not, and that's okay. because we really just need this yellow to be a base for the other yellows that we're going to use. It almost looks like a brown. I'm going to add a little more yellow to it because I don't want it to be quite that dark. Okay. I'm going to grab my tiny brush that I used yesterday, and let's get started here. If you didn't watch me yesterday during the Power Ranger stream, I apologized in advance, and I'll apologize now in case you missed it. I am very sniffly, thanks to all of the wonderful pollen that Mother Nature has provided to the New England area, which is where I live, and therefore, if you hear me sniffling, that's why, and I apologize. I've even taken meds for it, and doesn't matter. Literally nothing helps. So, I mean, it helps, but I still get the sniffles. So, yeah. And just like with the the Power Ranger miniature that we painted yesterday on stream, the Power Ranger RPG miniature, this miniature here, as well as that miniature and the next few miniatures that I paint, can be yours. You can own the painted version, painted by me, if you would like to own them. All you have to do is head over to room 139 on Saturday, August 6th at GenCon. Meet up with the Renegade folks there, play some games, have a good time, and then they will be doing a giveaway for 6 painted RPG miniatures. So that is super cool. And I have not announced what the other... I think I need to widen this out a little bit. I think I'm a little too close. There we go. So right now it looks kind of like a Dijon mustardy color, but we will brighten that up. I'm okay with this mustardy color for now. I was not very careful when painting the base colors on the Ranger I painted yesterday. And in the end, I feel like that ended up being a mistake because I ended up having to paint over a lot of the things that I had screwed up on with white. And white is the worst color to paint, in my opinion. So today, with this particular miniature, I'm not going to have as big of an issue if that were to happen because I don't intend on really painting any white on her, except for maybe in like one spot. getting a phone call, and it said, scam likely. Well, scam likely, I don't want to speak to you right now. Have you met my friend hanging up now? Jeepers. Can you guys hear that banging upstairs? They're like... sounds like they're tearing the walls down. And when I say they, it sounds like they're tearing up the walls down. I mean my kids. Because we just finished dinner, and they have the lovely assignment of doing the dishes. But it sounds like they're destroying the kitchen. Again, if you're just tuning in, I am painting Scarlett from the G.I. Joe RPG miniature pack. And I am going to be painting her in the classic 80s cartoon style yellow and blue outfit. Which will hopefully look pretty cool on this more modern sculpt. The sculpt is, at least from what I can tell, not based on classic Scarlett. It's more based on, like, the Scarlett that you would see today on the toy shelf. More military-esque colors. More leather straps and belts, and the original Scarlett looked more like she was wearing tights and, you know, a jumpsuit or whatever. So that's the look that we're going for as far as the colors go. Is that old school jumpsuit color. Because I like it. And yeah, I like it. I put way too much paint on my palette, by the way. Let's see. I think we're gonna go and paint these like gloves. Hey, Tony. Alright. That's all the yellow I'm gonna do. For now, anyway. This is Miss Scarlett. I believe, and I may be mistaken, and if I am mistaken, I'm sure that G will correct me, because I think Scarlett is his favorite character. If I remember correctly, or at least one of his favorite characters. I believe Scarlett was like the main female G.I. Joe. Like Duke was the main male G.I. Joe. Alright, let's see. What blue do I want to use? I'm going to use the Fang. Here's a Citadel paint. Blue. It's called the Fang. And this is going to be for the blue in her outfit. Obviously. I think that probably goes without saying. No Valet Joe for Joe. No Valet Joe so far. I will have to do some Valet Joe in a little bit. It is possible that Lady J was the main female Joe. I thought it was Scarlett, but I could be very wrong. Yeah, I knew that about the British approved G.I. Joe, the whole Action Force thing. If I'm not mistaken, I also heard that like Ninja Turtles had a different name as well. It wasn't called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the UK. Scarlett was an original team member. Does that mean Lady J was not? Yeah. Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. TMHT. Instead of TMNT. So did they like change the intro song and everything? Like, did you guys have a completely different like intro to Ninja Turtles? Because that was like the classic thing. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. Boy, I bet that guy didn't like his job very much. Your job is to go through this American show and replace the word ninja with the word hero. Every time they say ninja, you have to dub out and replace it with the name turtle or with the word turtle. That is your job. I mean, at least he was getting a paycheck, I guess. Of the original 15 G.I. Joes, Scarlett was the only female. Interesting. But that's a fun fact. That's why I love these streams. Like, I learned so much about all of these fandoms that I didn't know, you know? Like, even with, you know, Power Rangers, you guys teach me so much stuff. And now with G.I. Joe, I'm sure eventually we'll get other IPs and I'll learn even more. Nobody was physically allowed to hit anyone, so they needed to replace all of those scenes where you saw someone hitting someone with something else. And that was that person's job. And it wasn't just for turtles, it was for everything, so. Apparently Scarlett went as high as a colonel. Look at that. So Scarlett outranks. I wonder who the highest ranking G.I. Joe is. And how applicable their rank is to modern day real ranks. Raph punched the screen and then a Foot Clan would fly into bins or something. Cobra fighter pilots that got shot down always referred to as robots because you couldn't kill anyone. General Hawk in 09. That's a 3-star general. In, now. I don't know what it was back then when G.I. Joe first came out. 09 may have been the highest rank, but now 010 is the highest rank. Which is a 4-star general. So I'm doing this model a little differently than I do most of my other models. Usually I start on the face and on the hair. And as you can see, I am not doing that with her. Let's see. I think I want to do maybe brown. Excuse me. Steel Legion Drab will be my brown of choice here. There's an 010 listed, a General Hollingsworth. Duke is a field commander, so he's not even an officer. Field Commander E9. So Duke isn't even an officer, which means that Lady J and Scarlett both outrank Duke. Because an officer always outranks an enlisted person, even if it's, the highest ranking enlisted and the lowest ranking. Again, I'm using military standards here. Current military standards, real world military standards, based on my knowledge. Which isn't super extensive, but, I was in the military for 20 years, so I do know a little something. She has a bandolier across her chest. It's hard to see it because the brown is actually so close to the same color as the yellow. General Hollingsworth. He must be... I don't know who that is. My G.I. Joe knowledge is not super extensive, but I don't know who General Hollingsworth is. This list has Scarlett as an E9 as well, but below Duke. Well, that makes sense. It would make sense that Scarlett not be higher ranking than Duke. But it also makes sense that Duke be enlisted and not necessarily an officer because... just based on what I've seen from G.I. Joe anyway. Like, the type of work that Duke does versus some of the other Joes that are probably officers. Again, talking from a real-world perspective. You wouldn't have officers doing some of the things that Duke does. So it does make sense that he's enlisted and not an officer. Just kind of took me by surprise, I guess. Yeah, so you can't really see the brown on these belts super well. But it's okay. We will fix that later. I think, if I'm not mistaken, immediately after my stream, Renegade's coming back on with a second stream today to do. I think they're playing the G.I. Joe deck builder today. So if that's your jam, make sure that you stick around after my stream to watch that stream. Let's see, did I miss any straps? I'm going to paint this bowcaster here brown as well. I'm not as sniffly today, knock on wood, that's good. Which is weird, because I spent more time outside today than I did yesterday. Maybe that means I need to start spending more time outside. Grab some Valet Joe. I'm going to use this German camo black brown. I don't know why all the colors have German in the title, but I think it's because they're meant for like historical games, historical miniature painting, and so they're easily identified. I'm going to use this much darker brown to paint the handles of the knives. She has two on her back and one here on the front. I probably could paint these black or German gray, but I have another plan for that color. All right. She looks like she could be an X-Man. Yeah, I mean, if you look at her original costume from... wish there was a way I could share my screen with you so you could see this particular thing that I'm looking at as a reference photo. This is a statue of her based off of her 80s character. And really, like, with the blue and yellow, she could totally be an X-Man for sure. The blue is just a lot more muted on Scarlett. Whereas the X-Men, the blue was very vibrant and in your face. Sorry, I shouldn't chew on ice. Did you know if you enjoy chewing on ice, it could mean that you have an iron deficiency? I don't have an iron deficiency, but apparently that's what it could mean. So here I'm going to use my German Grey. Lord Malachite has entered the building. It's weird. I had a beard hair in my... You hear that? That's my hand. That's why I'm in so much damn pain. Oof. Hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow. I will have some sense of an answer about my hand/wrist pain. I apparently have vitamins missing from my blood, so I get to take a pill every day for like 3 months. That's fun. For the record, this pauldron, I know that on the characters that it's based off of, or the image or the art or, you know, like the new and improved Scarlett, this pauldron is blue and has white stars on it. But since the miniature is so small, those details don't really come through. So I'm not going to paint it like that. I'm going to paint it a little different. And for a second, earlier when I was looking at the miniature, kind of making a plan in my head, because I do that, even though it looks like I'm totally unorganized sometimes. I was looking at it and I was like, man, that looks like a turtle shell. I should just paint it like a turtle shell. But that kind of would have thrown off the aesthetics. So I'm going to make it this German Grey color. And then we'll see. We'll see how it develops from there. Okay. Just going around now and seeing if I made any mistakes with the blue so that it doesn't jack up the yellow. And then we will start talking about shades, washes. I call them washes. They're really called shades. So as someone who doesn't really know much about American military, what is a G.I. Joe? So a Joe is kind of just a slang term that they used back in the day for soldier. You know, like a Joe is a soldier. The GI, I'm trying to remember exactly what that stands for. I know that it does stand for something. I want to say it's like government, intelligence or something like that, but it's not that. I know for a fact it's not that. I just am not remembering off the top of my head what it does stand for. It'll probably come to me in my sleep, or Tony will look it up and tell me what it is. I know I should know, but they don't call them that anymore. So, I mean, that's like an old school term, like very old school. Government issue. Yes. You are 100% correct. It is government issue. I'm being a little too picky now about small details before I even put a wash on. Okay. All right, so now we are going to throw on a shade, a wash. So which one do I want to use? I think I'm going to go with a brown wash to keep our colors kind of like a neutral, earthy tones. I just have to make sure that all that yellow that I just did is dry. And I am going to throw some metallics on like the belt and the weapon and other places. So I know right now she looks a little plain. But if you notice, like all of the small, teeny tiny white spots where the paint didn't settle, the wash will hopefully cover all that up. Did you ever see the Community episode parody of G.I. Joe? I've actually never watched Community. I don't even know what it's about. Actually, that's a lie. Do I know what it's about? Is it about people in like community college or something like that? And it's like a bunch of different like ages and... Do I want to go full ham on this wash? I don't think I do. So I'm going to get my dry palette. Here's my dry palette. That's why I love this thing, because it just can rest right on top of the thing. Let's see. Let's grab this brush here. And let's grab some of this. And some of... I want that. I have way too much stuff on my desk. Oh, there it is. I was like, where is my stuff? Alright. So I'm going to grab my Agrax Earthshade, but I'm not going to use it straight from the pot like I normally do with washes. I'm going to put some here on my palette, my dry palette. And then I'm going to grab some Lahmium Medium, which is essentially just it helps water down the shade, the wash, without you know, contaminating it the way that like water would or something like that. You don't necessarily need it if your water is clean, especially if you're using like distilled water. Then you definitely could try and do it without this, but I have it, so I might as well use it. And really, the reasoning behind watering it down, or in this case, using a medium to water it down, is because you want it to flow in all of the cracks to cover up that stuff, but you don't want it to stain the colors you've put down already if you can help it. Or at least not stain them as bad. When you put a wash on a model, or a shade on the model, straight out of the pot, it tends to stain the surfaces that you don't want to necessarily stain. And so if you'll notice in a lot of my videos, I end up having to go back over everything, really. I'll still have to go back over stuff, but not as much by watering this down. If you use just straight water, you may find that your shades take a little longer to dry than normal. If you use the medium, like I've used, in this case, that should not be the case. You should not have to wait really extra time to let stuff dry. And this is all based off of my experience. So if you've experienced differently, then I'd love to hear about it, because that's just what I've experienced. So now I'm going to try and grab some of the pooling, dry off my brush, and see where it's pooling in spots. This helps me also find details that I didn't know were there. Because the miniature is so small, you can't necessarily see all the details. I'm not holding the miniature to my face, so by putting the shade on, details pop up that you didn't realize were there. So it helps with your painting as well. It's so good. The whole show is good. It's on both Netflix and Prime. Yeah, so am I right? What is it about? Is it about a bunch of people who go to community college? I don't know. Is that the one with the guy from Harry and the Hendersons? I might be thinking of a different show. Alright, while that dries, I'm going to get some flesh tones out. I'm going to use this Cadian flesh tone. Right? Yes. Man. Shaking out the paints actually feels pretty good because it helps with my hand pain. Alright, so Cadian flesh tone, this is going to be for her skin, which in this case is just her face, and a small amount of neck on the back of her head. So, really don't need a lot. Closest thing to a main character is a guy about our age, a lawyer who got caught having faked his undergrad degree and has to go to community college to earn it. Oh, that sounds like a funny premise. Alright, so the spot behind her head is very small. I may not even be able to reach it. very much a Friends-style show in that the whole cast matters. Different episodes focus on... Oh, yeah. That's good. I love Friends, so I'll have to check it out. How many seasons does it have? I'm going to use Bestigor Flush for her hair. It's kind of like this orangey color. It's good when you're trying to do like a natural redhead because you can combine it with some washes to make it look, you know, like red hair as opposed to orange hair. See, that's what happened to The Office, and that's why I don't regard The Office as like my favorite sitcom of all time, for the sole purpose that like I always compare how I feel about The Office to how I feel about Friends, right? And what was wonderful about Friends is Friends lasted 10 seasons, and every single season is excellent. Like, there is no change in the quality of the show throughout the 10 years. If anything, it just gets better over time. The Office also gets better over time, but when it reaches its 7th season and Steve Carell leaves, the quality dips dramatically, and the last 2 seasons kind of suck. And that is why I'm like, well, you know, both shows had long-running... you know, they were long-running shows, but one changes for the worse, and the other one doesn't. It just keeps getting better. And that is why Friends, in my opinion, is the best show ever. Maybe not the best show ever, but definitely the best sitcom. Alright, so now I have to let the skin, and more importantly, the hair dry. So I'm going to start working on some of the other bits since that's drying. So I'm going to get out some metallics. Really just one metallic, and that's Lead Belcher. See you, G. Thanks for coming. Just trying to find things on the model that look like they could be metallic. She has kind of these bracer things on her gloves. These, we'll call them wrist guards. Or forearm guards. So I guess now I gotta do it on the other side, huh? Can't just do it on one side, unfortunately. It's not the way the world works. Every time I say, oh man, I'm trying to hold a sneeze in. I don't want to blow anybody's speakers out. Little belt buckle on her belt there. That is definitely metallic. And I think I'm gonna paint some of these that I think are supposed to be stars. I'm gonna paint them silver. Alright. Now I'm going to stop with that because I think that my hair and my face are dry. So I'm going to grab my Racklin Flesh Shade, aka my wash. Give it a shake. And I'm going to put this all over her face and hair. This is like a brownish red, which is going to hopefully drown out some of that. Not drown out, but it'll do what it needs to do on the hair, is what I guess I'm trying to say. I may need to do a second wash on the hair to darken it, because it's still like a, you know, more of a strawberry blonde than it is red, which is what I want. So we'll see how this looks when it dries, but I may need to do a second shade on it. We'll see. Alright, close that up. Wash my brush, and now we can start, while we let that dry, we can start highlighting, and what we really want to do is bring that yellow back, which is kind of like her iconic color, you know? Gosh, my hands are killing me. Let's see. Keep trying to grab for that Bestigor flesh instead of for the yellow. I'm worried I'm going to make a oopsie daisy. So essentially what I'm doing right now, sorry, I don't even know if I explained what my next step was, is I'm just finding all of those yellow details that still, even though I watered down that shade, got muted by the color, and I'm just trying to kind of bring them back to life a little bit. Not completely, just a little bit, in parts that were that are a bit more muted than I wanted them to be. And then, you know, from there we keep building. on those colors. Building on the brightness of the colors, you know. You do know if you watched my stream last night, because I used the same technique for that. My dogs are barking. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. I mean, they're yippers. They're going to bark, but I don't want to subject you guys to the yipping. I do not at all like how it looks on my screen. I know yesterday you guys said it didn't look so dark, but man, it looks so dark on my screen. I really wish there was something I could do to lighten that up. I need like a vivid, because on my camcorder it looks great. It's not my it's not that. Sorry, I'm just checking my filters one more time. It looks nothing like it does in my hand, how it looks on the screen. It's a little better. Not a ton, but a little. We'll go with that for now. All right. Sorry, I just want to make sure you guys are getting the greatest, the best picture here. So I'm going to grab a little more of my Averland Sunset, which was the initial color that I used with the purple, right? And you can see on my palette here, it is brighter. And now I'm going to just do the same thing. this is the color I really want it to be. So I'm going to start working on that. See, it looks green now to me on the screen. I don't know. I see it as a drab olive camo. Yeah, it's not. Like, look at the camera. Look at, here, how about this? Look at her now. You see the difference? Like, it's not going to focus because it's not an autofocusing camera. But you can see the cut. Like, look at just look at the orange on my handle, and then look at when I bring it over here. See how much more vibrant it looks? It's almost like, I don't know. I don't know why it's doing that, though. Because this camera that I'm using, the one that you're seeing on screen, is the nicest camera I have. So I don't know why it's resolution type. Configure video. Oh, well, let's look at that. Alright, so let's close. I just want to make sure you guys are getting the best picture quality while I'm doing this. And it's okay because I'm letting the picture dry, or the camera dry, or the paint dry. Wow, alright. Let's see, configure my video. Let's see if any of this helps. It's a little better. It's not great, but it's a little better. If I put white paper down behind it, let's see. It seems like it darkens the screen. I don't want to spend too much time messing with it, because I know you guys don't want to see that. I guess I'll just keep working on it for next week. I mean, it's not bad. It's just on, like, I'm looking at it with my eyes in person, you know, because I have the model in my hand, and then I look up at my screen on the TV or whatever, and it's like, man, that is really not even close to the same color. And normally I use a black background. I recently changed it to the green background. And maybe that's what's messing with my eyes, is the green background. So maybe I need to switch it back. I mean, there was a reason that I switched it in the first place, but I can always switch it back. It's not a big deal. I mean, it is a little better now. It does look more yellow than it did. Why is it so big? Is that what it normally looks like? No. I've made my screen way much bigger than it was before, accidentally. Okay. I was like, what is happening here? It must have reset, like, the field of view on the camera when I was messing with it. Okay, there we go. I was like, man, I'm really close now all of a sudden. The thing that stinks about Twitch, I mean, I love Twitch. I use Twitch. But the one thing that does disappoint me about Twitch is in an instance like this where, like, I want to test it, right? Like, in my own time. But you can't test stuff in Twitch. Like, there's no way to test with another person. So it's like I have to rely on what I'm seeing and hope that what I'm seeing is what you guys are seeing. And that's not the case most of the time. So it's like, how do you test it to make sure that everybody can see what you want them to see? It's like nigh impossible. All right. So now she's starting to come together a little bit. Let's see, what else? Her hair. So I do need to do another round of this Racklin Flush Shade. I'm going to use my small brush once I get the yellow paint off of it. I'm going to get some more Fang. Fang is the color that I used for her blue. Put that back on my palette because I'm out. Same thing with the yellow. Same thing with the blue that we did with the yellow. I'm going over the stuff that was blue, but not completely. I am leaving some color behind to have some, some sense of shadow and all that. So the tops of her arms are going to be brighter than like completely underneath her arm. So completely underneath her arm, I'm not going to paint at all. I'm just going to leave it. I'm perfectly fine with the belts as is. I don't really feel the need to touch those up at all. They look pretty good. And I don't want people to focus on them anyway. If anything, I would lighten them up a little bit. Maybe I will, just a smidge. Especially like the bandolier here in the front. Just little touches, The hair is much closer to what I wanted, so that's good. Grab some flesh. Kind of fill in that a bit. Miniatures this small, I don't bother trying to do eyes, because they're just, it's just a detail you don't need to worry about when you have a mini this size. You're not accomplishing much by doing them, you know what I mean? Because their eyes would be so small that you wouldn't really see the pupils anyway. So, let's grab some Uriel yellow. I'm not trying to go like a super bright yellow here, so I'm going to add a smidge to my palette, but I'm going to mix it up with these other colors that I already have here. So it's not nearly as bright as it is straight out of the pot. And then just a smidge of just plain Uriel yellow. Okay. Again, I don't want it to be super yellow, because I don't want her to look like an X-Men. I mean, she already does a little bit, but... I'm going to take some white Scar and add it to my blue. Just so that I can brighten the blue up a bit to match the... yellow. So same tactic here. See, I don't even like that color. I might just go back to Fang. I think I put too much white on it. It just doesn't fit with the rest of the ensemble. Going with a brighter blue. Yeah, I don't think I like it. We'll see. No. Don't like it. So we just pretend like it never happened. All right, and the last thing that I want to do before I move on to the base is this shoulder pad that we have here. I want to kind of draw a little star in the middle as best I can. So I'm grabbing Ulthuan Gray. When I said ow, my elbow popped. Felt weird. Alright, let's see if I can do this. It's pretty good, actually. It looks like a star. You gotta really look for it, but it's there. It's pretty good, right? I mean, I'm freehanding it, so... Now I'm jacking it up. For a reason. I'm doing it on purpose. Because I want to try something. What is he doing? Well, I didn't really like that shoulder pad being black, so I'm going to paint the shoulder pad white, and I'm going to draw the star on in German gray. She doesn't have this pauldron on her uniform in her original thing, so I've been struggling with trying to decide what I wanted to do with it. Okay. Taking her off of that. And then I am going to attempt a star. I will probably, off camera, throw a wash on this star once it's done, to make the shoulder pad a little less bright. But I'll need to let this fully dry first, so that will most likely not get done here on stream. Because I can't go over, because Renegade's doing something else this evening, so. I don't want to cut into their time. But yeah, there's the star. It looks way better than it did. With the black on white. Or the white on black, I should say. I don't want to keep doing it because I don't want to mess it up. It looks pretty decent right now. And like I said, I'll throw a wash over that. Probably a watered down wash. I love when I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to touch it anymore because I don't want to jack it up, and then I'm sitting over here still touching it. Oh, man. Why do you touch things when you know they already look good? Because I'm crazy. Alright. Well, you guys get the idea. I'm going to keep working on this even after the stream. And then I'll post pictures on the socials. All the socials. So hopefully you guys are already following all of those socials. And I need to do the base. So the base I'm going to do similar to how I did the Red Ranger yesterday. I'm going to do black on the top, and then I'm going to do like a nice blue. I'm going to use this Dark Reaper, which is kind of a nice neutral military-ish blue. And I'm going to do that for all of the Joes so that I can keep separation from what's a Joe and what's not a Joe on the table. And I will fix that pauldron. And again, like I said, I will take pictures and post the pictures on my socials and on Renegade's socials. So, remember that you can win these models that I painted both yesterday and today, and I'm painting again next week. This miniature that I painted today is from the G.I. Joe RPG miniature set. You can win that at GenCon, at Renegade's Community Bash. That is in event room 139, Saturday, August 6th, and that event is being held from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Just go play some games, and they're going to be raffling these away. So I don't think it's like a contest, like winners get them. I think it's like a raffle. So everybody has a chance to win, which is super cool. Like I said before, make sure that you stick around after my stream for the, I believe it's the G.I. Joe deck building game they're going to be playing. Make sure that you check out all of my socials. I'm at It's So Tiny on Facebook and TikTok, and I'm at The Real Daddy Louie on Instagram. You can also find me every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, at twitch.tv/Circle of Nerds, where I paint all kinds of cool things, and including this Thursday. And you can check out my YouTube, youtube.com/Circle of Nerds, for painting things and other nerdy shenanigans. Thank you. Always eternally grateful, as always, to Renegade for having me on these streams and allowing me to do this. I love spending my evenings with you guys and talking to you and stuff like that. So make sure that you take care of yourself, take care of each other, play your games, and paint your miniatures. And I will see you guys right here next Monday, same Renegade time, same Renegade channel, for more Power Ranger painting, RPG stuff that you can win at GenCon. Don't miss out on it. All right, guys. I love you, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye.